In a new age of Watchmen, a team of individuals, pooling their talents and abilities, come together to bring analysis, reaction, and comedy to the fold. This is their chronicle. This is Accounting Arc.
Welcome back to another episode of ARC. Today we're talking about accountants in pop culture. So guys, who's your favorite accountant on TV or in the movies? Why are they your favorite? What weird stuff did they do? How realistic are they? And let's go.
I mean, I think the first, and this is a group of accountants, I think the accountants that people think about the most is The Office. Oscar, Kevin, Angela, like they were the butt of so many jokes, and they were just some of my favorite accountants, I think, to watch.
Were they realistic?
Well, it was anything like, I think that was the beauty of The Office. Like everything was like exaggerated realistic. So I think they did a good job of like exaggerating the like stereotypes of the accountants.
Okay. All right. What was like the antic that got you excited about them as accountants?
As accountants, oh man, I mean, I think it was just their individual personalities. Like Angela was definitely like her really like rigid demeanor and like that, put everything in a box and it fits a certain way and it has to be just right. And
That
Oscar
sounds
was
pretty standard for accountants.
yeah, she loved cats. She was a
Okay, that one's a bit extreme.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah. And then like Kevin, for example, I think Kevin was fun because he wouldn't get involved in like any of the drama. He just like kind of sat back and would observe and just kind of like distance himself from all the stupidity. Which I think, in an office setting, the accountants tend to be, a little bit separate from a lot of the office antics and things. So I think Kevin did a good job of kind of filling that role as an accountant on the show.
Nice. So one of my favorite shows of all time is Parks and Recreation. And I think it was probably like the third season when Ben Wyatt and Chris Traeger show up. And in the show, they're auditors sent from the state because the city is failing and they have to go through and look at everybody's budget and all their spend and all the BS things that government is wasting money on. And I love it because it comes in with Ben Wyatt being like very fact-based, very cutthroat, and like, here's what you did wrong. Like, here are all the facts, right? Like, I'm kind of going to be the bad guy. And then you have Chris Traeger, who's like the happiest person you've ever met. And it's just like, everybody is wonderful. And then turns to Ben and said, can we do that? Nope. Okay, great. Right. And I think it's really funny because it does also exaggerate like the personalities in accounting, right? Like there's a lot of us that are really wonderful people in the industry, and we don't want to be the bad guy auditors to come in and say no, or like, here's the budget, here's what you did wrong, like here's where you breached whatever, or messed up on this financial pronouncement or whatever it is. And then there's also the accountants that come in that are super fact-based and very pedantic and struggle very hard with anyone that doesn't follow the rules. And especially when it comes to money, right? Because that's what we look at as accountants. And I think Ben exemplifies that incredibly well, where he's really a great person, like a wonderful character, and the character development is amazing. But in that first couple episodes, like he kind of comes across as a not so nice person, right? Which unfortunately accountants are mistaken for on a way too often basis.
Yep.
Since you guys are talking about exaggeration and Liz brought up not wanting to be that auditor that comes in, that actually makes me think of Flowcast's YouTube series PVC,
Yes.
which I think you kind of needed to be at least a past auditor to really understand and relate to. But that was also hilarious. I guess we're all sticking on this comedy trend.
Yeah.
That was just hilarious. I found myself rolling, just kind of laughing at what's going on there. But I also felt like it over stereotyped some of the things. So from that aspect, I didn't like it because I was like, yeah, there's some of us like that, but that's like so extreme. Some of their examples.
Yeah,
Did you
it
find
was
it slightly
silly at
offensive?
times.
I did actually. I did find it offensive. I was like, there's not that many of us that are like these extreme characters.
I
Yeah,
never watched it, but I feel like I should now.
you definitely should. I would recommend it. And I would say the level of exaggeration and silliness wasn't even just with the accountants, because it was also like the software startup space, and that they had salespeople coming in, which actually that episode was hilarious because they had like the pre-sales guy who was like a lacrosse player, and he was such like a lacrosse bro. It was ridiculous. And like there were all these moments of doing like the demo. And I remember when it came out, I was working in a similar like pre-sales role. And that part, like, talk about like hitting you hard from like an offensive perspective was pretty hard. But then a lot of the
But
like
then you were
accounting
like,
and
I'm
auditing
actually
jokes.
like that. My bad.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like it only hurts because it's true.
Ugh.
And but the accounting stuff too, like some of it, like it definitely like kind of pulled up some scar tissue of moments in the past that I thought really hit home. But you have to have been an accountant or auditor to appreciate. I thought it was good.
So, did you guys ever watch Silicon Valley?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so I only watched the first season of that because at the time it came out, I was working with a ton of startups and going through their fundraising cycles and dealing with all the different personalities and helping them through that from like an outsourced CFO perspective. And it was way too close to home. Everything was exaggerated to a certain degree, but it was so close to home that I'm like, I don't want to watch work for entertainment. Like if I'm watching TV, I want it to entertain me and not stress me out and give me anxiety. And that show definitely was giving me anxiety, and particularly the way they were going about the financial side of things.
That show was really hilarious. Well, one accountant from pop culture that I don't think people think of is the character Louis Tully. Do y'all remember who that is?
Sounds familiar. What show is that?
Was that Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yes, Rick
Yes, that's
Moranis.
right. Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis
Oh my God.
was an accountant, and they didn't do a lot of accounting references or accountant
No.
stuff, but I mean, definitely one of my favorite
Whoa, that's
accountants
a
of all
throwback.
time.
Yeah, I know. That's funny because so Ghostbusters has a deep place in my heart because my dad actually worked on that film from
Oh,
the
no
way.
financing perspective. So, we got to go to the premiere when I was a kid of Ghostbusters 2, and like walk the red carpet with everyone, which was really cool. Big memory in my head. And also really cool fact about the way that it was filmed in New York and the abandoned subways and the pneumatic railway system. And I digress, but we were looking this up the other night because both my nephew and I get into ADHD deep dives, and he's obsessed with trains, and I love movies. So we were looking up the pneumatic railway, which Ghostbusters 2 is based off of, which was actually built using a pneumatic tube in the 1870s in New
Oh,
York.
wow.
And it only went like 2 blocks and was shut down before they built the actual subway, but it was based on a real thing. So there's your little
That's
Ghostbusters
fascinating.
fact for the day.
That is cool. That's really interesting. Well, another accountant that I really love from the movies is Albert from the movie Hitch, Kevin James. And in fact, that's kind of fun because there's a scene in that where he has a mug on his desk that gets spilled, and it's an AICPA mug. Apparently, I don't
That's
remember the
awesome.
connection, but somebody who was working on the movie has a relative that I think works for the AICPA, so they got a real AICPA mug for the movie set.
That's really cool. I'm gonna watch that with a different eye this
I
time.
know.
I
I'm
don't
thinking
think
I'm
I
gonna have to go
picked up
back and
on that
watch it now.
detail. Yeah, we're gonna have to find that clip and link to it.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
gonna flip
That's
it
really
to
cool.
the other side. So the fun one for me was the movie The Accountant. And it wasn't
yep.
so much that I liked his other, and actually, I will say, I actually did like his character. I thought that was pretty cool because I've always wanted to be like a secret agent type of a thing. But when it came
Wait,
out,
you're not? I've always thought you worked for the CIA.
well, this story actually goes with that. So when that came out, I had a friend approach me and goes, "Hey, Donnie, I just watched this movie. You travel a lot and you're only in cities for a short period of time. Is there something I should know?" And I'm like, "You don't want to know because then I'm going to have to do something about that."
Guys, if I'm not on the next episode of ARC, you know why.
Uh, that's
That's
awesome.
funny. Yeah, I
That is,
actually didn't watch that movie again for the same fear that it would be like watching work, but I hear it was actually good. So
It was
it's a
good.
good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, I need to rewatch it. It's been a while since I watched it, but I
it
remember
has a horrible
appreciating it.
title though. That's just not an attractive title to anyone.
Yeah,
So not quite movie or TV, but do you guys remember the like I'm an accountant thing that went around TikTok a few years back?
I do not.
Wow, you guys are old.
no.
So effectively, there was this like TikTok video where this song came out where they were like, "I'm an accountant. If you say you're an accountant, nobody asks you for details," indicating they were in the sex industry. And it was hysterical, and it went around for like about a year, right? It was really popular.
Wow.
And in that year is when I met my partner, and I, told her I was an accountant, and she 100% did not believe me. Like she thought I was totally bluffing, which I was very flattered by because there's no way I would be in the sex industry. But also, like, speaks to what she thought of my looks, which was really adorable. But that is
That's a
accountant
compliment.
in pop
That's
culture.
definitely a compliment.
I mean, I took it as a compliment, but also it was hysterical. So I appreciated that because it's so true. If you go to a party and somebody's like, "What do you do for work?" and you're like, "I'm an accountant," they're like, "Cool. All right, where's the
Yeah.
refills of alcohol?" And they try to get away from you. It
I
works.
or they ultimately have some sort of tax question, like
Oh gosh, yes.
99% of the time. Like, but it's an interesting unlock though, because I've found if you say you're an accountant, people will just start to tell you things that
Mhm.
they generally would not tell people. They'll talk about their income, they'll talk about like family, like estate issues, like and it's really fascinating.
And you're like, "I know nothing about that, so good
Yeah,
talk."
every time. I'm like, I know a lot of accountants that can help you, but I have no idea.
You're
That's
like, "I
a
can hang out with the lacrosse bros better than this." So
oh,
That
Lord
is an
help us
interesting
all.
observation, though, Byron, because I think, contrary to all of what we just shared of the view of accountants in pop culture, there is actually this real, I'm gonna call it a brand that we have associated with us that does engender this trust
Yep.
and knowledge because they're like, I want to ask you questions because you know things, and I'm going to tell you things I wouldn't normally tell other people. And I definitely find that with clients because as soon as I say
Yep.
like, yeah, I'm a CPA, and we they're immediately, even without like an NDA or something, they're like, well, can I tell you this confidentiality? And of course, my answer is always, well, yeah, and we're bound regardless of whether you're a client or not under those types of restrictions.
I don't think
Yeah.
most people know that though, and they still trust us, which is, I don't know,
That's
may
true.
speak to common delusion or present well for, the brand that we have built. But I hope most accountants are ethical and do abide by those
Or the three of us
ethical
just have very
standards.
trusting faces, and it has absolutely nothing to do with being accountants.
I try to play dumb if somebody asks me a question. I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about that part of accounting. Sorry. Like I focus more on like whatever is the complete opposite of what they're asking, even if I know the answer, because I don't like getting into those types of mixed professional friendship situations. And it makes me uncomfortable. And so
Yep.
I avoid, and I have lots of avoidance tactics.
But most of the ones I get on that, I think, are tax. And so I purposely even don't do my own taxes so that I can say, I don't even do my own taxes. So you don't want me giving you tax advice.
I haven't done my own taxes since I was like 23. I started paying an intern at the firm I worked for to do it for me on the side.
I used to do it just as kind of that pride of like, yeah, I can do my own stuff. But then it got complicated. I'm like, no, that's okay. I'd rather
So I
somebody else do it.
can do it, but I choose not to. There's a big difference. 100% capable, 100% don't want to.
So let me flip this. So what movie or pop culture thing do you think we should have that we don't have as accountants?
Oh, accountants are alcoholics. I think they need to present that better in movies and pop culture.
Oh, at first I said that right. When you said alcoholics, I thought you were talking about the legal profession.
No, but I was joking, and that totally fell flat because neither one of you laughed. So apparently my joke hit a little too close to home, but it was totally a joke.
Shh, that's one of those other ones.
Oops, my bad. Not good at keeping secrets. Don't tell me your tax information.
Well, what TV show was it? I'm drawing a blank where it was like the 1950s, like the marketing company, like
Mad Men?
Mad Men. Yes. You know, like I think that was an interesting portrayal of like a profession. Right. And like we've never really had, I mean, I guess the accountant, but there hasn't really been anything that really is like kind of like focused at all on the accounting profession or what it's, I don't know.
Yeah, agree.
How it's evolved,
because
right?
there's a lot about law. Mad Men is actually marketing, right? Isn't that marketing and
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
stuff? And there's tons of medical ones and
Oh my
teachers.
gosh.
We're like probably one of the
First responder stuff.
First responder. Is there one on engineering? I'm like, are we the only profession without like a real series that modeled after us?
Probably. We probably are. And mostly because people don't know what we do. And if they do know what we do, they're not making movies or TV shows.
That's because we can't talk about what we do. Otherwise, we got to do
True.
something evil.
I mean, you definitely can't talk about what you do, but the rest of us can talk about it in generalities.
That's right. Travel a lot.
In short increments. And oh, sorry, I'm talking again. Guys, don't disappear. But I do think it's a really fascinating topic when you see the portrayal of your profession in film and in TV shows. And I do think like when you listen to medical professionals say, "Oh, that's nothing like what we deal with on a regular basis," right? It's fun to hear that. Because of course the dramatization to get people excited is a big deal in any kind of media. So I think that it might be a good thing and a compliment that we're not over dramatized, except in comedy, which I appreciate.
That's a good point. That is a good
I
point.
agree. But I do want to actually, with that said, I want to throw that challenge out there to our listeners. So I'd be curious if you have an idea, let's throw that out to us because let's see. And actually, maybe we can get Flowcast to do a little more realistic set of episodes that better represents what we actually do.
We could do like an ER style, just like tons of drama around, year-end close must happen. And we don't have statements and the bank closed and we could definitely dramatize some of the things that we deal with on a regular basis. Maybe we should write some plot lines and read them out in our show.
Actually, you saying that makes me actually think about how when we do get together at the conferences and things, and you're like, you're not going to believe what my client did, right? Those conversations, or we're dealing with this issue. That I don't know if that would resonate with non-accountants, but I feel like we do actually have that drama when we get together. It's just that we only do it amongst ourselves.
Because we're the only ones that understand why it's crazy.
And kind of appreciate, right? It's hard to appreciate the drama when you just don't understand the mechanics of it.
Like I work with companies that end up in court receivership all the time because of either, they made bad decisions and the court had to appoint a receiver, or they went bankrupt, or, they're being criminally prosecuted. So the only ones that people get excited about that are not accountants are the ones where there's criminal prosecution because of the criminal prosecution, not because of the company itself. It's because of the fraud that these people perpetrated that caused the company to end up in that situation. But for me, I'm like, oh, this is so cool, guys. Like, look at all the stuff they messed up, or look at all the things they did well, or look at how they created this like almost legal fraud where there's like a lot of confusion and things happening, but it's all from a financial perspective. So I think it's fascinating, but I feel like we could write a whole show about like the companies that end up in court receivership and the accountants that have to fix it or dissolve it.
Yeah, and while you were talking about it, it did remind me of, and now I'm completely drawing a blank, but there was a documentary on Netflix that was about a huge fraud that was uncovered through, accounting related to a woman who was like a mayor of a town, and she was stealing from the town, and
all the Queen's horses.
Thank you. Yes, all the Queen's horses. I thought that was a fantastic documentary that was really well done in explaining the like kind of accounting implications to non-accountants. I think that was a really good example of ways to tell those stories about, how accountants are protecting the public.
Is fraud the only thing sexy about accounting?
I mean, they could actually, why don't they do something with the FBI accountants that are doing the, forensic accounting, locking down finances of terrorist organizations and, tracking that money around? Like, I'd watch that.
I can answer, well, not on the TV show side, but I can answer that because I've tried to get FBI people to speak at the conferences and they are not not to do
I was like, where are we going with this, Donny? Like, is the secret cell phone coming out? Like, what's happening?
No, that was the interesting thing. Yeah, we could not get them. Was it FBI or was it? No, sorry, it's CIA. CIA, because I had a CIA contact. And they're like, we can't talk about anything from work, even past stuff. I was like,
that would be fascinating. Now,
so I had to go to the FBI. The FBI is allowed to. Was it the? Actually, even the FBI is. Only the FBI is allowed to actually talk about it.
That's awesome. Well, on that note, I do need to get running, so I need to wrap it up. But I cannot wait to see the comments of all the other references to pop culture or ideas that people have related to how accountants should be portrayed in TV shows or movies or whatever.
And that was going to be my final call too. I was going to tell everyone, hey, if you come find our episode on YouTube and tell us what are your favorite pop culture references to accountants. Let's see if we can get a good list going.
That'd be awesome.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. See y'all.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.